Guys, first of all, thank you, and thank all of you for joining us today. We've got some interesting stuff to unpack, and we've got to do it efficiently, so I want to dive right in. Jeffrey, you spent over 40 years in the film industry across Paramount, Disney, DreamWorks, where brand marketing was so essential to driving sales, movie tickets, home media. I had the privilege of working with you back then, buying the media, so I know your attention to the detail. But can you share a bit about how your experiences as a buyer, if you will, as a marketer back then, led you to partner with Alembic as you did?
Sure. So I think, we have watched in the last 10 to 15 years as performance marketing has gone from an art to a science. The ability to be able to do that with incredible precision and accuracy and outcome has really been, it's changed everything about marketing and advertising. You have two of the experts up here that can talk to it. But the thing that has remained a bit of a black box and a mystery is brand marketing. And there's that famous saying, we've all heard it 100 times. I'm 100% sure that 50% of my brand marketing is working. I just don't know which 50%. And so whether it's a billboard or a sign out here on the Quasette or over a stadium or sponsoring a sporting event, an interstitial inside of some of the most amazing programs that a company like Disney has, to actually put value to that has been imprecise at the very best. And I think what Alembic has done is come along and applied the tools that are available today, and they were not available even 2 or 3 years ago, to actually crack this open.
And Tomás, from your perspective, what were the big tech breakthroughs or inspirations to take that and apply it to this?
Well, the genesis of Alembic really happened with a lot of the technology that came out during the pandemic. A lot of folks think mRNA, the vaccines, were the only big thing to occur then from a technology basis. The other thing that happened is there was a lot of incredible mathematics. And at the same time that was occurring, we saw NVIDIA and all of their hardware and everything and all that compute be able to rise to the point where we've never seen it before ever. And so we woke up one day and I was like, everybody here remember contact tracing, right? In the audience, yeah. I woke up one day and I'm like, mathematically, what is the difference between a contact trace and a marketing touch? And I'm like, absolutely nothing. So at the time...
Well, it depends on what the marketing looks like. No, I'm kidding.
No, true. I want to go back to those days, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, exactly.
So what I'd say for that is that for every other industry, right, nuclear, weather, disease, etc., we use large supercomputer models, simulations, and everything else to try to figure out what's going on and have a precise understanding of things. So why in marketing are we all using math stuck in the 1970s? So we luckily worked with NVIDIA. We have one of the roughly a couple hundred fastest supercomputers that are known, that we privately, physically own, that we do these computations on. And what we want to do is we want to turn every marketer into a storyteller again, because they can actually get down to the individual dollar on how brands work and causally how that's happening.
Gülen, you've been a vocal proponent of the importance of AI for both content creation, workflow automation at Mars. What is it about leveraging AI, particularly for marketing measurement, that resonated the most with you when you were first exposed to Alembic?
Yeah, so we are actually redefining the growth model as we speak, right? And we just codified what we call the new Mars way of building brands and experiences. Within that, we of course keep the fundamentals of brand building, which are, our brands know what they stand for, they are differentiated, they're consistent, and we're changing the way we are engaging with the consumers. It is going from one-way messaging, obviously, to two-way engagements, but even more importantly, building those relationships by asking our fans and communities, our pet parents, our consumers, to co-create our experiences with us, because that's the only authentic way to get to personalization at scale. Now, when you are personalized at scale and your creativity comes from everywhere, including your community, how do you attribute it? How do you attribute business results to that? We know today that 50% of the brand building goes through unpaid channels. We talk about the creators economy. There are 200 million of them, rapidly growing. Right?
Most of them are here on the Croisette.
Yes, yes. And what we wanted to make sure is that we can liberate creativity, if you will, through measurement, right? If we are able to attribute real business results, sales uplifts to just organic conversations, then we can make that creativity be worth even more from a business perspective. I'll give you an example that our latest pilot with Alembic turned out. So Justin Timberlake randomly tried Snickers ice cream bar. And Snickers ice cream, he loved it. He posted on it. Michael Phelps picked it up. Then the sports community picked it up. And then there was NFL conversations. There was like a week of organic conversation on Snickers and how great it is. Snickers satisfies and, you're not you when you're hungry. So normally we would know it's a good thing, but we wouldn't know how much sales uplift it would bring. Where would it be in the sequence of events? Is it a starter or is it an amplifier? So now with Alembic's pilot, we were able to understand that it has created a sequence and it has impacted sales in one of the biggest retailers in the US. So that pilot gives me hope that there is a potential to actually bring business results from this organic conversation, because we do build brands for growth and value creation, right? And we need to be able to attribute value to it.
For sure. Rita, I want to brag about you for a moment, because one thing I've learned as we've been partners and friends for so long, you're a student and you want to understand things. And I will tell a very, very short story about a breakfast with Rita a couple of years ago in December that was expensive, because she came up with the idea of doing an online course on technology when the blockchain was the conversation. And I got up from that breakfast and said, I've got to do that for my entire team. So I know you're a student and I know you pay attention to the detail and the technology. And first of all, it's amazing to see the presence that Disney's got here this year. It's quite extraordinary. But as you work closely on the sales side, because obviously Gülen's on the buy side, you're on the sale. I mean, he sells a lot of stuff too, but in terms of media, how do you anticipate the advancements like Alembic, but changing how you consider the ad inventory across the vast ecosystem of the Walt Disney Company?
So that's a great question. I will say I met these two at CES, and immediately after they left, my team said, there's absolutely something here. We definitely want to get involved. And so we've been working since then to stand up a proof of concept that we're going to bring to market. Because as you know, and we're talking about it, right? We are in the middle of upfront season, and it's all about outcomes. The marketplace moved from a business of one-to-one to one-to-many, and now it's one-to-outcomes. And having...
One-to-outcomes, that's a good one. That's a keeper.
Right. I mean, and it is every conversation that we're having with brands, every conversation that we're having with agencies. And so how do you enable that when we control a portion of our ecosystem, but ultimately the last touch attribution has been what most people have been using to determine outcomes. And so that's what excited me so much about this. We needed a different way to measure it. And when I think about the opportunity it creates in our sports business that's live versus the opportunity it creates in our linear networks business or our streaming businesses, I get very excited. There's very few technologies that I've had the chance to look at that have so much promise as what Tomás is working on. So I'm very excited about that opportunity, just given where the market is.
Well, that's great. Gülen, Mars frequently does co-marketing with other brands. Just last week, M&M's announced limited edition bags featuring dinosaurs from Jurassic Park for the upcoming sequel film. Not a Disney film, but okay, we'll give you a pass on that.
We have other ones working.
Exactly. How do you evaluate if something was a success? That's the holy grail. Have we found it?
Exactly. So this is, have we found it? We have a glimpse that there is a way to it. We have not yet found it, right? But how we would measure Jurassic Park or any collab is, of course, the real sales of the collab merch and everything that goes to it. And then we would do traditional sales lift research, right? People who saw it, people who didn't see it, how does it impact sales, how does it impact brand equity, all the things that we've done for decades now. Now with this technology, there is real line of sight. There is real line of sight that we can attribute what it starts in the conversation, where it amplifies or where it detracts, and then how does it impact sales or brand equity, which is very important because, to Rita's point, it's quite easy to actually measure the last point of conversion, but it is very difficult to bring out the chain with the long-term impact as well as the short-term impact.
Yeah, I guess the sausage making actually matters in that case. You know, here's the
Exactly.
sausage, but how'd we get here? Rita, you know, I mentioned it in the earlier question, but the ecosystem at Disney is so vast, from TV commercials to pre-roll to the monorails in Disneyland and Disney parks all over the world.
Yep.
With AI and with technology such as Alembic, you're able to show the brands the holistic results. Again, we get back to one to results.
One to outcomes.
One to outcomes. What does this level of intelligence enable you to do that you couldn't do before?
I mean, listen, it would be incredible to understand the value of every dollar spent across our platform. By the way, not only for our brand partners, which from my side is most important, from every marketing dollar that we spend to how we think about, is the value in using it for promotional purposes for our company more valuable than actually selling it to a third party, because then they have to go out and buy it somewhere else, right? And so the ability to close that loop will be incredibly valuable. But I also think it's not a one-size-fits-all, and that's what I love about this opportunity. It is custom to the outcomes that partners are looking for, with the flexibility around the media and the platform that matters, and the ability to value the impact of each one of those across the full funnel.
And that's magic.
Yeah.
So, Tomás, what Rita just said is magic. Do you have a wand?
Any science significantly advanced is indistinguishable from magic.
Well, let me take it back to its beginning, Tomás. What's the ultimate goal from your perspective in building Alembic? I mean, what was the goal, and kind of not a what's next yet, but what was the goal when the idea started?
So I was a little bit odd as a child, obviously. My first actual
It wasn't
job,
obvious to us, but thank you for sharing.
but I was saying
said it.
my first job was actually doing some stuff at NASA Ames Research Center in Mountain View. And at the time, I couldn't decide what I wanted to do with myself. And I was really conflicted between music and mathematics. They were the same things in my head. And I've always been stuck in between the intersection of art and science. Art is the thing that makes my heart sing. It makes me happy. I love doing it. I like seeing it enabled. And actually, I did that for a long time. And mathematics was the way I could bring it to life. And so for me, again, like I always say, as I've seen the disintermediation of brand and storytelling being subverted by technicalities and accounting, what does it mean to make marketers completely and utterly focused on being storytellers again? When we have just standardized performance, yeah, we could do programmatic until we hit like marginal return. But the key here is amazing creative is the exponential modifier, the thing that can hockey stick any campaign past it. But we can't measure it. And the only things we can get in business are the things we can measure and prove. So if we can prove that, can we actually change the entire background on how marketing functions and bring us back to what we often talk about as the golden age?
So I'm going to channel Jeffrey Katzenberg, Tomás, with this question, because Jeffrey taught me this a long time ago. When Jeffrey speaks to a musical artist, he asks them two questions. What was the song and who was the artist that inspired you? What was the thing that inspired you? What was the song and who was the artist technologically?
Renaissance Technologies out of New York. And so actually, it was the first high-frequency trading firm that ever existed. They're the folks who were like, hey, if I see the weather change in Paris, can I see the stock price change in New York? It was a brilliant mathematician who I happened to get to meet, the founder, a couple times. And the concept of that data at a true scale that you'd never seen, he was really the pioneer of it. The first person to actually do like data at that monster scale besides governments was them. And so what would happen if we brought that intelligence down? But the thing he always said is that every edge, every connection you can make, right, we say, all of them have capacity, right? So how do you give people the ability to find the best creative, to actually move their businesses forward in the ways that matter, no matter the goal? And for him, it was the same thing. It's just markets.
Jeffrey, let's say in a couple of years from now, this type of technology is used across all the industry. Does it affect how a marketer is thinking? I mean, you do think like a marketer, so...
100%. I mean, I think everything about their jobs. I mean, this is the promise, you know, when a revolutionary technology comes along, which is what AI is, and AI is what makes what he's doing actually possible. And I know there's lots of conversations around generative AI. This is about applying AI to a real scientific challenge and outcome, and would not be possible, honestly, 2 years ago. Between NVIDIA and their supercomputers, which Jensen Huang made available to this little company, and the assets and tools of AI, it's changing everything. It's going to change creatively in terms of the things that they're able to do and the types of stories that they're able to tell. It's all part of this amazing ecosystem, and we are in the middle of what I think is going to be, we'll look back on and find was one of the most exciting, innovative times in the world of what we all do.
Gülen.
Yeah, I think creative used to be a job title for the few, right? And now we find that it's a verb for the many. And if we can attribute value, business outcome value, to each and every piece of creative from every influencer, then we are going to supercharge, empower the creativity of the millions.
Absolutely. And Rita, you know, I said this on an earlier conversation today. When you're in a pitch meeting now, and I don't mean pitch, when you're in a buyer-seller dialogue with a company like Mars, you're pitching to or discussing or to Gülen. But really, another marketer friend of mine said you're actually pitching these days to the CFO as much as you are to the CMO, because you've got different kinds of restrictions and you know, bars you have to hit.
We're all growth leaders,
yes.
We'd like to think.
But exactly, and you know, you take me to another place, which is the right title for a chief marketing officer or the right job description, especially with yours having growth in it. The question I always ask is, do you have the levers to drive growth? Because you're responsible based, you know, the oldest joke is if you don't line up responsibility and authority, you got a problem. You've got the responsibility. Do you have the right levers to do it?
Yeah, I know you were asking to Rita, but when you can find direct attribution to any investment and the facts are objective, there's really no barrier to any investment.
So again, when you're in those meetings, is your and again, I'm using the word pitch. I can't think of another word at the moment, but is your pitch different because you know the CFOs on the other side of it?
For sure it is. I mean, I think it's why we're in a world today where it is one-to outcomes, right? And so what I love, and when you listen to Tomás, who I think is one of the most brilliant people I've ever met, and yet he explains things so simply that for the people like me who are not brilliant mathematicians understand it, what you hear come back out every single time is the importance of environment and creative and storytelling. And we are the storytelling company of the ages. And so I'm so excited about what this technology is going to enable us to do from our marketing perspective, from our products perspective, as well as what we're going to be able to partner with together with brands.
Well, I think we have run out of time officially, but that's a great place to leave us. So I'd like to say thank you to Jeffrey, Tomás, Rita, and Gülen.
Thank
Thank
And
you.
thank all of you.
Thank you.